As a small business owner, you have a lot to keep track of. And when it comes to staying organized and actually getting stuff done, I highly recommend using a project management system like Trello. In this video, I'll show you how to use Trello and explain how to set up the 5 boards that I recommend starting with. This tutorial is for service-based solopreneurs, so if you have a team or you run a product-based business, this might not be the tutorial for you. But if you offer some sort of service and it's just you and you don't have a team yet, stick with me and I'll show you how to get started using Trello. So before we get into the tutorial, I wanted to explain what Trello is exactly. Like I mentioned before, it's a project management system. It's a place to keep track of all the tasks that you have going on within your business, and it's very visual, much like Pinterest has pins arranged into boards. Trello is composed of different Trello boards, and within a board you have lists, and the lists are what categorize your cards, and the cards are what hold the different tasks you have going on. In my own design business, I used Trello on and off for several years, but I recently switched to ClickUp. If you'd like to know more about why I switched from Trello to ClickUp, check out my video, Trello versus ClickUp. But I certainly don't have anything against Trello, or I wouldn't be making this video. In a nutshell, I switched because I felt like it was time to have more versatility within the project management of my business. But I recommend starting with Trello if you've never used a project management system before, because again, it is just so simple and visual. I think it's a great option for beginners. I know you're eager to get started, so we'll go ahead and get into the tutorial. Be sure to hit subscribe and click the bell button to be notified every time that I post a new video. I really appreciate it, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Once you have your free Trello account created, the first board that I recommend setting up is the weekly to-do list board, and that's where you'll keep track of all the main tasks that you have to do in a week. So to create a new board, you'll come up top to this plus icon and you'll click create board. Now you can give it a board title, so I'll just type in weekly to-do list. And now mine's asking me if I want to add it to a team. Yours will probably be set to private as default, so I'll go ahead and set mine to private. And you'll also be able to change your board background by clicking those 3 dots, and then you can search for a photo or some colors. I'll look for a pretty picture of some flowers. I like this picture. And then once you have your picture selected, let's go ahead and create the board. You'll see here a box that says enter list title. This is how you'll create all of the lists that will house the cards on your board. For this weekly to-do list board, the first list that I recommend setting up, it will be called Brain Dump. And this is just a place where you can dump any random ideas that you have throughout the week so that you can focus on your work without worrying about forgetting something. And then I also recommend having a reminders list. As far as keeping track of your tasks for the week, I recommend having a list for each day of the week. So I'll go ahead and create lists for Monday through Friday. You could do Saturday and Sunday as well. And I'll go ahead and close this menu for now just so that's not distracting. But now we have lists for every day of the work week, and also your brain dump area for random ideas and reminders. So I've gone ahead and added in some sample tasks. To add a card to a list, you just click this add card button, and then you can type to add your task. So let's say I need to order printer paper. Once you have cards on your list, something neat that you can do in Trello is use labels for your cards and color code. So I'll show you how to do that. If you click on any card and then you click this labels option, by default your labels are blank, but if you click the pencil icon beside them, you can edit it. So let's say I wanted my green label to be for finances, and click save. And then let's say I wanted my yellow label to be housekeeping, and we'll talk more about what housekeeping is later in this video. And then maybe I have a label for client projects and marketing. You get the point. You can just use labels to categorize all of your different tasks. Oops, and I accidentally added those to the card, so I'll remove that. If you don't want to categorize your tasks like this, you could also do priorities, so urgent, important, or low priority, that sort of thing. But I like organizing them by their task categories, kind of like this. So for example, this YouTube card would go under marketing, so I'll add that label. And then when I click away and then click away again to close the card, you'll see this marketing label here. And then for the blog post, if I click labels again, it's automatically saved the changes that I made to the labels for this board. So I can choose marketing, and then for the meeting, I could choose client projects, and so on. And one last thing that I want to show you how to do for this board is to set due dates. So let's say I wanted to have my YouTube video uploaded by 3 p.m. I can click on the card to open it, then click due date, and I'm recording this on a Wednesday, so it's showing me Thursday, but on my board it says due Tuesday. So let's say the next Tuesday, I click to have it due that day, and I set my time to 3 o'clock p.m. Then you'll hit save, and you'll see the date and the time there. And when you close out of the card, you'll see that due date here as well. And once I've completed this task, I can click on the card to open it and then check off the due date to mark it complete. That won't remove the card, it'll just set the due date in green. And one other thing that you can do for this board, if you'd like, is you can add a list to the end and call it done. And then once you complete a task and check it off, you can click it, hold it down, and drag it to the done list. And that's just like a fun way to see all of the things that you've accomplished. You can also click and drag cards from one list to another. Let's say I didn't get something done on Thursday, I can move it to Friday. And if I needed to remove a card, let's say that I'm not going to do this on Friday anymore, I can right click it and click the archive button. You can also archive all of the cards in a list. This is super helpful, for example, with your done list. If at the end of the week you want to clear this out, you can click the three dots, then click archive all cards in this list, and then click archive all, and that will get rid of all of the cards in the list. If you wanted to remove the entire list itself, just click the three dots and click archive this list. And now you know a lot of the basics of using Trello, and I'd like to move on to the second board that we'll create, which is for client projects. So since you already know how to create a new board, I'm not going to go through that process again, but I will show you an example of a board for managing your client projects just to give you some ideas. When it comes to setting up your client project board, I recommend having a process for your entire client experience from start to finish. And once you do have that process in place, then you can create a Trello board for it for all of the major milestones. For example, for custom website design, I know that I'm going to assign pre-project homework. Week 1, we'll talk about website strategy. Weeks 2 through 3, I'll work on the initial site design. Weeks 4 through 5, the final site design, and so on. And I also know what I'm responsible for each of those weeks and what I need from my client. So based on that, I've created cards for each week, and I created custom labels with my name, and then I can put the client's name here to designate which tasks are for who. One thing that you'll notice that I didn't show you on the previous board is that I have checklists in my cards. So if I click to open this card, I can see week 1 to-dos here. It's easy to add a checklist to your card. Once you click to open it, just click this checklist option, give it a name, click add, and then you can enter each item on your checklist here. Obviously, your project setup will be a little bit different, but again, feel free to use mine as inspiration and adapt it to your own processes. One thing that I did want to show you is that you can share Trello boards with clients so that they can view it too, and you can do this in the free version. What you'll need to do is click invite. It will ask you to add it to a team, and so what I usually do for this is I have a specific team board where I'm the only team member, but it allows me to share with clients. So I'll click add to team, and I'll click my business's public team. And then once you've added it to a team, you can invite someone by typing in their email address here and sending the invitation. Just because you share a board with someone doesn't mean that they'll be added to your team, so they won't be able to access any other board. They'll just be added to this particular board as a guest. And another helpful tip I wanted to give you about using boards that are shared with clients is that if you go to show menu, under the main menu you'll have a more button, and you can click this watch button. When you're watching a board, you'll be notified every time changes are made to a board, and so that will let you know if your client is checking off tasks. And you can also chat back and forth with your client within the board, and if you're watching the board, you'll get notified if they comment as well. Let me show you how to comment. I recommend having a specific list that's for client questions, and then they can add their questions as a card. And once they've added a question, what you can do is come down here and comment on the card, and then they'll be able to reply back to you. And you could also have them comment on any card if you'd like. You don't have to have a questions list. And now let's go ahead and move on to the third board. So the third type of board that I wanted to show you is an idea for a master marketing plan board. This is just a basic idea that I had that has some things that I like to use when I'm planning out marketing that have been helpful. The first list is for goals, and you can have a card with your overall goals for 2021, then a card for your goals for quarter 1, quarter 2, and so on. And one thing I did want to show you is that if you click on a card, and I already showed you how to add a checklist, you can have multiple checklists on a card. So you could have a checklist for your January goals, a checklist for your March goals, and I forgot February, and I'll just move that up so that they're in order. And then you can have different goals for each checklist. And for the second list, I put awareness. I just kind of made this out of that idea of a marketing funnel where you're trying to attract new people, then build community with those people, and then get leads and convert just audience members to clients, right? And so for this first list, I've put how will you make yourself discoverable, then how will you build community and engage and serve, and then how will you turn your audience into clients. And then you could list your ideas for each of those things. Again, I'm not a marketing expert, and if you need help learning about marketing and how to attract new people into your audience, how to build community, and how to get leads and convert to paying clients, I highly recommend the book Superfans by Pat Flynn. I read it recently and it's been really helpful to me. He talks about this sort of thing, about having a casual audience and building community and then getting them to be someone who pays for what you offer. And I've also found Jessica Stansberry's podcast super helpful. She's a fellow YouTuber, but she also shares a lot of tips specific to your marketing for entrepreneurs on her podcast. So I can put a link to Pat Flynn's book and Jessica Stansberry's podcast in the description below for this video if you'd like more marketing resources. But let's go ahead and move on to the fourth board idea I wanted to share with you. So the fourth board idea that I want to show you is for a master content calendar where you can plan all of the content that you're sharing across all of the platforms that you're on. I'm not going to go over how to set up that in this video because I have a tutorial that walks you through setting up your content calendar in Trello in depth. It's actually my most popular video on my channel right now. So I'll put a little pop-up box in this video so that you can click and watch that, and I'll also put the link to that video in the description below. But let's go ahead and move on to the fifth and final board I wanted to show you, and that's for housekeeping workflows. Now I recommend creating processes and systems in your business for tasks that you do over and over again. So for example, I have a workflow for the financial system that I do every time I need to pay bills and organize my money. And then I have lots of workflows for my content creation. So there's one for planning content, one for creating my Instagram content, and so on. So basically what you'll do is you'll write down all these steps for your content workflow. So I said I do this the first of every month. I just write 4 emails and then schedule them. At least that was my plan when I created this. But what you can do is save all of your workflows into a board, and then once it's time to do something, you can copy a card from this board to your weekly to-do list board. To copy a card, you'll just right click on it, then you'll click copy, and then you'll choose the board you want to copy it to. So for example, I could copy it to the sample weekly to-do list board, and then choose the list I want to copy it to, and also change the position on the list if I need to. And once the card is copied, so if I click create card and I go to the board that I copied it to, I think I copied it under board instructions, so then I can move it to Monday. And this is a copy of the card, so when I edit this card, it doesn't affect that original card. But that's the last board idea that I wanted to share with you. So there you go. Now you have your first 5 Trello boards all set up. You know how to use them, and you're ready to really add in your own content and get your business organized using Trello. I do want to encourage you to give yourself grace as you're learning Trello, because while it is simple and pretty easy in my opinion, just like with anything else in life, there's a learning curve and you're not used to using it yet, so you have to form that habit. So just give yourself some time to get used to it and to make using Trello your own. Feel free to adapt anything that I shared with you in this video to make it work better for your specific business. And if you ever have any questions about Trello and there's something else that you'd like me to cover, feel free to leave your questions in the comments below. And one more thing before you go, if you're thinking about getting a new website for your business, I'd love it if you checked out my Show It template shop. You'll find easy to edit, completely customizable Show It website templates for service-based entrepreneurs like coaches, photographers, and bloggers. And they're all strategically designed to help you stand out online and connect confidently with your ideal client while showcasing your unique brand and personality. You can check out the templates at myapalmerdesigns.com/shop, and I'll put that link in the description below as well. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.